Oh, look at that. It went into the split shot already. Give me a sec. Well, there's my first flub. It's great. It's awesome. Welcome to my stream. This is Jacob Jewett and Jacob Jewett's IT and Consulting live stream. Uh, Tonight, as you probably already saw, I have a special guest. I have Antonio Moore who's joining me tonight. But before we get started, I'm trying some new audio stuff out, and I'm trying an Elgato Camlink Pro out, and it turns out the one I got is a little bit defective. So while I got this video of myself looking just fine, the video that I'm gonna pull in of Antonio is it's live, of course, on Zoom, but also it's going through this Elgato card, and I'm using a separate card for my video, but I'm using the new Elgato card for Antonio's video. And so if you see it pause every once in a while or have a green kind of flash to it, that's a known issue, and that's the issue I'm working with Elgato on. Hopefully I don't have that problem in the future. But anyway, so I've invited on short notice, I've invited Antonio Moore to join my live stream here, and we're just going to talk about how we met and also some how he got into IT. As you probably know from previous live streams I've done, the whole idea of this channel is to get people that are interested in IT kind of a step up and a foot in. So this is probably his first time doing a live stream with kind of interviewing. It's certainly my first time, so get ready for some awkwardness. But let me go ahead and introduce you to Antonio Moore. He is a good friend of mine, and he doesn't know that he's still off on audio, so I'm going to turn him up right now. And I got to switch to that camera view, so give me a sec. Hey, one sec. Oh, this is so fun. All right, got it. All right, gotcha. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Can you hear me okay through this now?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. Hopefully everything's going great. And if it's a disaster, then it's a disaster. And you know what? Apparently, I just got a warning on the YouTubes that it's not receiving enough enough yeah information. But hopefully it works. It looks like it's working now. I don't know why it stopped working for a second there, but hey, that's what you get for being new to it. So I know Antonio from basically we worked at the same company together. We also went to the same high school together. However, me and
And we
him
lived in the same neighborhood too,
we
or roughly location area.
geographically, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, we did, but I guess I didn't pay enough attention during that time. So in
I
high
walked a
school,
different hall. I walked a different hall than you did.
yeah, yeah, I was on the nerd crew, and I I kind of stuck to myself in high school. So the first time I came conscious, like basically became conscious of you, is when I was working at Kaplan College, and I was teaching the CST program, and I had been, I was doing a lot of work for him, and I had been asked by uh, uh, our manager at the time to cover your class because you got stuck at work or something. So I remember going into that classroom and teaching it, and about halfway through or like midpoint, you walked in the back and you just sat down in the back of the room, crossed your arms, and kind of just gave me this look of disapproval the whole time.
Well, it wasn't disapproval. I sat there like I was, auditing the class.
Yeah, exactly. So I just remember that happening, and I remember you sitting back there, and I was just like, okay, first of all, who is this guy? And then at the end, you I said, oh, I did this or that, and you were kind of short with me, and I was like, okay, whatever. screw this guy. I walked out there. I was like, I think I had to cover your class a couple more times or whatever. But I was just like, well, it is what it is. So, you know, I, whatever. So, and then I was talking to another coworker of ours, and he was wanting to start like a computer business. So I was like, okay, we can try to do that. And he's like, I really want to bring this guy in. He's like super smart. He's super amazingly smart, and I would really like to, you know, pull him into this whole thing. I think he'd be great. I was like, who is it? And he's like, Antonio Moore. And I'm like, oh, okay. And the name didn't hit. Like, it is like, okay, whatever. So I'm like in his office. I got my feet kicked up, and he goes, "Oh, here's Antonio now." And you walk in the door. And the first thought in my mind was like, "Ah, crap, this guy." But I was like, I'll give him a chance. He likes him. Whatever. I can give this a shot. Whatever. And then me and you hit it off better than me and the coworker. I mean, we were still friends, but as far as IT went, me and you kind of like kicked up, and it was like, oh well, this guy is actually pretty damn cool. and
It worked out that way.
yeah, and you've actually turned into my brother, and so
Yeah.
that's that it's sometimes first impressions are wrong.
They can
So
also be fun too,
yeah,
'cause they're
yeah,
good to have good stories.
yeah,
That was 2011, if I remember right.
yeah,
We were on kid number 3, my belated wife and I. So she was pregnant with Jason at the time.
yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was. I remember you talking about that, and I remember being happy for you, and yeah. So like, I also was I think responsible in some. I don't think in whole, but definitely in part of talking you out of the job you had at that time. Like, I think you were being undervalued, and I was like, dude,
Well, I was having a lot of problems.
yeah,
There was a lot of mistreatment that I felt at the time, misunderstandings, all the good fun stuff. But yeah, I was like, should I quit? Should I not? Should I force their hand to give me a raise? Should I make them understand me better?
yeah,
But we had a crappy CIO. I guess is what he was, our CTO at the time. CIO, I think it was.
yeah.
But
Is he
I
still the CIO?
no, he left apparently,
Oh, really?
or he got fired.
Oh, yeah. That's a whole
So
nother
yeah,
story.
oh yeah, that's a different story.
It's
But
one of my favorite stories, but definitely it's a story.
but you know what? My wife and I used to talk about it as a stepping stone.
Yeah,
In any career, you may feel like it's a disadvantage or a horrible thing that happened, getting fired, but if you really look at it, it could be a stepping stone for you.
yeah, yeah,
And then that's what it's been. That's nothing but a stepping stone since.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, you just I found out a lot, a while back ago. So like when I used to, and you can tell me how you feel on this, but when I used to work for companies, I used to be super loyal. I mean, like,
Yeah.
if they were paying me a paycheck, I was loyal to that company. Live and die by that company, the whole thing. And so a lot of times I would stick around through stuff that I probably shouldn't have stuck around through, but I would stick around because I thought, oh, they care about me, I care about them. And then I got, I think what everyone gets at one point or another, the realization that in most cases you're either a number on a spreadsheet, or if you're not a number on a spreadsheet, you're only a value to them as long as I guess it's mutually valuable at the time or something like that. So it's like, you know I'm the kind of person that wants to stay with a company because I build relationships with the people I work with. I'm a team player,
Yeah.
and things like that. And so a lot of times I'll stick with a company when I should probably have jumped a long time ago, kind of thing.
It's kind of like that's what happened with that job.
Yeah, yeah,
Super loyal. I thought I'd be there like forever till I retire or die, or they found someone better to replace it with. But I was super loyal to these people. But I think it was meant for me to leave, and now that I'm at the current company I'm at now, I'm like super loyal to them, and I ain't leaving.
Yeah, you know what? You
Especially after my recent situation.
yeah.
Personally, I'm not leaving
Yeah,
anytime soon.
they've done you right. I have to
Yeah,
say that they've done you totally
and
right.
I will always do them right. But it's been a great adventure, career adventure, if you want to say,
Yeah.
going from job to job. But I've never been one of those that went for a job for like 5 months, 6 months, maybe 8 months, maybe a year, and then go to another one, then to another one.
Yeah.
It's I stuck with it, and then I dove into that career. I tried to ask the questions, engage with other coworkers, find out what they do, how do they do it, learn some things, get some tips and tricks on what I should be doing, directions, because in IT it's vast, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And all of the categories that's underneath it. And you could be a database administrator, website admin at the time, you could be a network admin, telecom, and then it's grown since then, right? You
Yeah.
have a lot more.
Well,
And
the thing I tell people all the time, I don't know how it turned out for you or how you started. I mean, we've never really had that conversation, but I know, and I'll bridge back into that. But the what I thought was funny is I talked to you. I helped talk you out of that job. Uh, kind of talked you off the ledge, and then you ended up getting a job for the company that you currently work for,
yeah.
and we tried doing a business together, and we put a valiant effort. Unfortunately, the guy that we put in charge of sales didn't want to do a whole bunch of sales.
That's all
So
right. He had
he,
his family to take care of
he
too. He was working full time,
oh
so
he was doing good. Yeah, no, it was funny. It was just like I don't think either.
we weren't salespeople. Let's put that way. We
Yeah,
weren't.
and I don't think any of us, and to his credit and ours, I don't think any of us were like 100% in it. We had our own little things going on. I know that I had a situation I've kind of talked about already, that I was kind of homeless at the time, so I was going to do it either way, kind of thing. And then you were trying to do it. You had a bunch of stuff going on, but I remember
Yeah.
we broke away from that, and then I went to work for a CPA firm, and I had been with them for like 2 years. And I think me and you lost. We talked every once in a while, but you were doing your thing, I was doing my thing, and I was working for the CPA firm. And then just one day I called you and I said, "Hey, you want to do lunch?" And you're like, "Yeah, let's do lunch." And we met somewhere, and during
Oh, I
that,
remember where.
yeah, yeah, it was a good place.
It was. I'll say the name of it anyways.
Yeah.
It was Hodell's,
Uh,
and if I remember right, I even paid for a Marine's lunch,
uh, you
an
know,
ex-retired Marine's lunch, if I remember right.
no, actually,
Was that
I
that
gotta
time or a different
correct
time?
you. It was actually at the Mediterranean place.
So was that the Mediterranean?
Yeah, it was at
Okay, maybe that was a different lunchtime.
yeah, no, it was at Flaming Skewers.
Okay,
So we were
well,
sitting at Flaming Skewers, and we were
okay.
having like falafel or something like that, and we were
Oh, that's right,
talking.
because you were closer to the one. Okay,
Yeah, yeah,
now I'm remembering.
yeah,
Sorry, my
yeah. So,
that's my memory of location and the time's a
oh
little off
no,
for me.
no, it's all good. So we were sitting at Flaming Skewers, and I think, uh, and just a way of things, the way things come around is kind of interesting, because I think I offhandedly said to you something like, I'm thinking about floating my resume. And I remember, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember you just lighting up and going, "You are?" And I said, "Yeah." And you said, "Get that to me. We're trying to hire someone right now. Get it
Yep.
to me like
Yeah.
now." And so
I,
I did.
yeah.
And next thing you know, 2 weeks later, or was it? I think it ended up being 4 weeks later or something, but I was working at the same company you were, and continued to do so until you jumped ship for a little bit. But I'm technically still working for that company. The our companies got divested. You went one
Yep.
way, I went the other, and so just a happenstance lunch. Now I'm like 7 years into a company that I never thought I'd ever work for. So that's
Long-standing
pretty cool.
career and going to go further into it. So
Yeah.
that's the same for me. I mean, I don't know how many different positions I've held with this company, but just the adventure just with this company alone has been great.
Yeah.
Even though I did leave for that short stint and came back, I learned a lot
Yeah.
because I was wanting to get into IT management a little bit more. I wanted to be the voice for the little guy of IT, especially in the administrative, at the admin level of sysadmin. So it's been great. I can't say it hasn't. Um,
I think
but you are very missed. You side by side as it is. So because there's always a difference between having a MSP, a in-house technology, and then trying to run your own
yeah.
versus full-time employment with a company. I think we were in survival mode during that time that we were
Yeah.
trying to do our own business. We were trying to survive just in general.
Yeah.
Um, and we all have personal things going on at the time. I was having another kid.
Yeah.
My oldest was having trouble in school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's been a journey.
It is fun. So like there's a bit of our our history there. So like what my initial plan before I talked to you earlier today, my initial plan was just kind of go through a timeline of
Yeah.
like how I got into IT, how I got interested in kind of the steps along, and you were a big step on that. And another person that's also agreed to join me in about a month, and you know him as well as I do, Matt Mitchell.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna join me in I think about 3 or 4 weeks. He
That's
wanted
cool.
he wanted some time, but he's going through some he's not bad things, but he's having some fun right now.
Yeah.
and,
We
but
we all go through it. I mean,
yeah,
my
everyone
current
does.
situation. So
Yeah, yeah,
with the
yeah,
but you know what's interesting you say that is I was just thinking as we were talking before this on what we were going to talk about
mm-hmm.
is where did I actually start versus when did I actually get full steam ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where I was kind of going is like, so just like I've had this luck of having certain people in my life to kind of get me where I'm at, um, you've must have had that. I'm thinking, and I'm interested in hearing your story of like how you started, like what got you the itch and what got you kind of going to. Did you have another plan for a career before this? And what was that, and then how did you guys get hooked into this?
So my life was going to be I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to be like my dad. My dad's a retired Air Force cook or chef, however they wanted to title him at the time. Um, uh, but I wanted to be like him at the time. But my aunt sent me my first computer. She was like, I don't need this anymore. It's taking up space, and it was a Windows 3.x. You know what? Everyone who does IT now will never know the pain you have to go through to reload DOS with floppies and then reload Windows. I mean, I even my dad gave me one before that was just a 5.5, and I had some games and that was it. I didn't do much with it, didn't have much. But when I got that Windows 3.x, there was a lot more going on that I kept reloading, breaking, trying to learn. But um, I had a lot going on personally with my grandmother who had cancer at the time. So I really didn't dive into IT as much as I am now. It took a while. When I got into college at BC, I still wasn't fully into it until 2000. I started working for the DSPS disabilities. They call it the high tech lab. It's like a computer lab for people with disabilities. I
Okay.
did Braille. I did audio tapes. I did audio on the computer. I helped reload all the computers, even though the IT staff did the majority of that. But it was that time trying to learn what the IT guys were doing at the time at the college, and then that kind of took my aha. But my actual focus was in industrial electronics,
Mm.
and I think I
So
told you this once before.
PLCs and stuff. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this company, I'm with right now, I had applied with them before at the time, back in 2005, but they didn't hire me. The guy who was working my case to get me in, he left.
Mm-hmm.
So I was left in nowhere. But the company you helped me get away from, I applied there 3 times at 3 different times. And then one of my current friends, my good buddy Joe, who has his own company now, he hired me there. And from there, I started learning more.
Yeah.
There's more to IT than just sitting there loading up the computer. There's more than just replacing the motherboard. There was networking. There was telecom. It opened my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah.
My focus during that company was support, but I really loved email. That was my biggest thing, email on the server. Yeah. So,
well, I think it's funny you say that company I talked to you away from took you 3 times to get hired there. I remember, I remember working at AMPM. I worked for Kern High School District. I worked at South High School, and schools don't pay a whole lot, so I had to get a second job, and so I was working at AMPM at the gas station, and I saw I almost said the company's name. I saw the company that shall not be named, one of their trucks that they were famous for, pull up and get gas. And so I was like, oh, okay. So I'm out sweeping the driveway and stuff, and I walked up to the guy and I said, hey, I got my A+ certification. I got this and that. And I'm like, how hard is it to apply for the, said company? I'm interested in applying. And he kind of looked at me up and down and started laughing like I was a joke. And I was like, dude, come on. Like, this is not my only job. But it was like, it gave me a bad attitude. The other thing that kind of gave me a bad attitude about that company, and probably one of the reasons why I tried to talk you out of it, is that company, I don't know if they do now, but back then they had such a reputation for talking a lot of crap about technicians. Like, they had billboards that did it.
That was there during that time.
Oh boy.
I was there when that campaign went about dogging the IT guy, your in-house IT staff. Yeah. Instead of like being a company to want to partner up with and share and work with, it was like, is your IT lazy like this guy here, and show the picture up. It was, they try to give us excited about it. At the same time, it was like, oh my gosh, are we really doing this?
Yeah. It's like how can we get everyone possible pissed off at us? Let's do this.
Yeah. But like you mentioned AMPM, like I've worked multiple other jobs too before I even got straight into IT. I mean, I've worked at the community college. At the same time, I got a job working security at the arena in town, and then I got another security job, and then I kept just the college of security, and then I went to school. That's where I met my wife at, and she encouraged me to do a lot more, take those stepping stones. And but when I left, I think it was with us, I really had to dig deep inside of me to find out where I wanted to go. If I wanted to be my own business guy or be working for some company. I felt like I needed to work for a company because I needed the benefits.
Yeah,
there's more kids coming, showing up at my door there. My wife and I were bringing home. So.
You topped out at 4 kids, so like, yeah, benefits.
Yeah, I topped the 4 kids.
Yeah, no, you've always been a family man, and that was cool. And no, so you started with a company so you went from the company that shall not be named to trying to start a business with me and the other friend. And
at the same time, we were working part-time together as teaching.
Correct. Yeah.
That was like my only paycheck.
Yeah. We were teaching, you were teaching the CNT program, and I was teaching the CST program. And, so that was fun. So, while we're on that, what's your I've kind of voiced my opinion kind and already and kind of made me unhireable by any private college ever.
Wow,
Not saying
really?
that you want to do that, but I
Now, well, I won't be either because I'm on this show.
yeah. No, I mean, basically what I said, if you didn't see the stream, is like the one of the reasons why I'm trying to do the live streaming, and one of the reasons why I'm trying to do this YouTube channel and stuff, and I think one of the reasons why you're getting into what you're doing is we had people help us out, right? And
Yeah.
we like I had a couple mentors like if Matt Mitchell didn't set me on a path with a certain individual, I don't think I would be here.
Yeah.
You know, so I owe him some, and you know, I'm gonna talk about that with him when I get him on. But you know, when I worked for those colleges, well, I've said them before. I can say them again. UEI and Kaplan College. When I worked for those colleges, I really tried to be the students' like actual mentor. Like, hey, I'm here for you. I'll stay after hours. They're not paying me to do it, but I'll stay here. I'll do whatever I can to help you guys out. And but my impression working for those places was it was all about the dollar. They didn't care about the student. Students that weren't doing well, you were told to give them good grades so that they could keep charging them basically, and it was about the grind of getting that money out of that student. Whereas like a lot of the stuff that they teach in the private colleges, just like I think there is some place for them, but I think there some of them are kind of shady about it, in the fact that everything they teach there can be easily learned through YouTube videos, um, a plural site, uh, O'Reilly
Udemy, all
books.
those, yeah,
Yeah,
all those other ones, yeah.
yeah, I,
Well, you know, with private colleges, you know, it's for profit,
yeah,
right? I myself want to. I gotta be careful what I say too, because I myself, when I get ready to retire, because you know I don't want to be working at Jack in the Box.
yeah, yeah. No,
When I retire, it's just to be able to keep my lights on. I want to teach, right?
yeah,
Whether it's just math or some basic, just to help people. Because my thing was, I even wanted to work there. Is I wanted to teach. I wanted to help others learn. I wanted to be their mentor. I wanted to be their like go-to person when they have IT questions or share things or applaud the people, you know, moving up, even if they became my boss, right?
yeah.
So you know, be careful what I say.
Well, you know,
The my experience with private the for profit is they tell you this is what you need to teach, this is what you need to say, this is all you can do.
yeah,
There's book and theory, and there's practical,
mm-hmm.
right? That's the hands-on. The problem with is that you don't have a lot of practical put into it. It's always book and theory. I mean, you go
Yeah,
to any university, it's like that too, where there's a lot of book of theory, but I know there's a lot of professors that try to bring the real world into it,
mm-hmm.
and that's what I try to do is bring a lot of the real world. So there was a case where you know the kids came in before they even came in. I disconnected certain pieces of the computer
Mm.
and different things. I did different things, and I said they came in like nothing's working. Well, guess what? In IT, nothing ever works.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
need to troubleshoot what it is that's going on and then figure out from there what you can do either to prevent it or if
mm.
it's just something you're just going to deal with, because in the support world, I mean, the mouse doesn't work, the printer's not printing, those things happen, and you have to unfortunately either troubleshoot visually in your mind or you have to hands on site.
Yeah,
So
because
they would,
a lot of that stuff is on the phone, and
yeah.
you never see the computer. I mean, especially in these days, like with COVID and everything, how many people are actually going out to houses and fixing computers nowadays? I mean,
Oh,
that
have you? I mean, how many people actually troubleshooted a internet outage for a owner's home,
mm-hmm.
like in in another state?
Yeah,
I
hey,
mean,
your alarm go
the
off.
guy was in like in another state, and I'm like trying to help this guy figure out why he has internet. Come to find out, it was the cable company cut the line on the outside and didn't tell him.
Oh man, I've had
So
that.
yeah, I spent hours on it. But the thing is like it may be frustrating, but you got to take it as a learning experience, like a learning challenge. because how many people they don't put in books that rats like copper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
You know, they don't
that's
put that in book.
that's true. And if I remember the syllabus, you weren't allowed to take away from the syllabus, but you were allowed to
Right.
add to it, and which was fine. But the problem was, is you were put on such a schedule, such an
Short time.
accelerated schedule. So you were getting students in there that, I mean, never pressed a power button to a computer in their life. And in a month, like when they went through with Kaplan, they had that, what was it, the white and black mod,
Yes.
which was like, I think I'm convinced that whole mod, that the black and white mod, was just a ploy to get them stuck so they couldn't like cancel, because they had that, what, buyer's remorse period of like 2 weeks or something, and so they would stick them in those two classes before they could go into the color wheel, is what they called it.
Yeah, the
And
yellow, the red, the blue, black. Yeah.
yeah,
You know what's funny? You say that. It's like I remember in the books and the syllabus that they didn't have anything on scripting.
yeah,
And when I showed the students about batch scripts and then had them do that as part of the add-on to the courses,
yeah.
I got in trouble for it.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I had a student in the back who wrote a script that would constantly eject the tray out. But the fact that that the script was even able to run constantly and they
Hmm.
allowed that,
He
that just
looped it.
shows the weakness of the IT structure there.
Yeah.
But they I got the call the next day. Hey, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I was teaching them scripting. The student got crazy about it, but the tray kept ejecting constantly.
I'm hoping Matt Mitchell has a similar story. He did it at South High. Yeah, he
I
did
remember.
he did something where he, I think, hacked the network, and I'll get him to talk more about it. But it's a funny story. But the same mentor I have was his mentor, and let's just say that guy saved a lot of butts.
You know what? As many butts that we could save in any company we work for, any organization,
Yeah.
the one thing we have to be careful with is walking into a new job thinking we're the cat's meow.
You do that once. You do that
You can
once.
do that, yeah, you can do that once, but like the constant every day of that, and like, when am I gonna get this? I should be owed this, or I should have that. It's like you wear out your coworkers quick, fast, in a hurry that they want you fired.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's I mean, I remember a student who he worked in the oil fields. He unfortunately got injured, had to find another job, another trade. He got it, wanted to get an IT, I guess. He was expecting he's going to work and make $100 million or $100,000 as soon as he's done. I'm like, I don't even make $100,000. I wish I had $100,000.
Yeah,
If you're going to get an IT for the bang in the buck. I mean, good luck, because not a lot of us do. I
yeah.
mean, we're not, you know, lucky Zuckerberg. We're not, lucky Gates and stuff like that. That found something that was worth having and build from it. I mean,
It's a. I
what?
mean, if you're willing to learn, if you're a hard worker, it's a stable career. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
but
you can
there.
love what you can. There's so many different, like I said, categories. You can love just one,
Yeah.
and be the best at it. I mean, now we have cloud, and then there's cloud security that gets tied to that. I mean, now you got AWS engineers you have to have, Azure engineers you have to have. I mean, you just have to find your flavor, and
And
unfortunately, you have to go through it
and
to find it.
you have to have them, because being a jack of all trades in our industry, just, you can't do it. There's just too much information. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, I mean, as I say, Google can only get you so far.
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, Google can get you quite far, but you have to understand how to interpret the information. So, like, you remember, what, 2 or 3 weeks after I got hired with, it was, no, it was probably like 2 or 3 months, but it was not too long after I got hired with. I don't know if we should say the name, but
I'll keep it PC for now.
yeah,
You won't say it.
it's a good company. I mean,
It is. It's awesome.
I have no problem with the company, and if I had their permission, I'd say their name all day. But anyway, when I got hired with the company that you currently work for, um, I remember like 2 or 3 months after I got hired, we we'd bought another company and we were setting them up, and I think you were still with us at that time. I'm pretty sure you were.
That would okay. That would be okay. I think I know which one you're talking about, but
Uh,
I
the,
think I left before the setup.
oh, okay, okay. So this was probably right after you left then. So I'm working at the company, and we were working with Scott was there, and Mike was there, and a couple others. And so I think I'm okay just saying their first names. But anyway, they were there, and Brad was there, and so we were setting up this new company that we had purchased, and because the our parent company, which I currently work for, was in this acquisition phase of buying all these companies, and so one of the things that they did was they bought this company that didn't have really a structure at all. I mean, they were running cables through like drywall, and I mean, the company ended up spending a ton of money on this other company to get them up to the level that we needed them.
A good
It,
standard, right? Even a corporate standard above, which is usually above
yeah, yeah,
the industry standard, right?
yeah. So, you know, we were setting up domain controllers out there. Like we had redundant domain controllers, and I was put in charge of setting up said domain controllers. And so I get them installed, and I can set up a domain controller. We've done it multiple times,
Oh,
like for private companies and corporations and everything. I mean, it's like one of those things that you do almost all the time. I mean,
well, we
now,
have our own home labs for many years, and we were rebuilding constantly.
yeah, so I'm setting up this domain controller, and everything goes without a hitch. I see, the AD populate and everything, and I'm like, okay, good, it's done. And so I get done with it. Brad was our manager, and I said to Brad, I'm like, hey, Brad, I got done. It's good to go. He's like, great. So like 2 weeks go by, and Brad Brad says to me, hey man, I need you to look at that domain controller again because it's not picking up DNS. Like DNS is empty. And I'm like, oh, well, that's weird. I've never had
Oh,
that
that
happen
was
before.
after I left. I know
Yeah.
that one.
So, so I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. So I go on there and I'm like, oh man, I've never seen a domain controller because DNS and AD are, I mean, they're hand in hand. They're usually on the same machines because AD works with DNS. So I'm like, okay. So I look at it, and sure enough, none of the domains are there. I'm like, man, that's weird. What the heck happened with this? And I'm like, okay, well, I could fix this. And what I should have done was I should have just killed the domain controller, like wiped it out and reinstalled, right? And been fine, right? But no, I'm gonna fix this. I got this, right? So I go and I'm like, okay, I went on Google and I searched, the issue I was having, and I saw all these people that had the same issue, and I'm like, okay, great, I'm on the right track. So I read like 3 articles, and all 3 of the articles, the steps made sense, and I'm like, okay, cool, cool, cool. And I mean, I had literally, how, Google does a pagifying stuff, right? So I go through 2 pages of Google searches, just making sure I got the information down. I'm making all my notes, steps I'm gonna do, and I go about doing it, right? And so I do it. I see the domains, the DNS domains populate. I'm like, oh, awesome! And I look and I see them populate in the list. I'm like, okay, great. I see the C names come over and everything. I'm like, okay, awesome. So I do that thing again. I stand up. I say to Brad, hey, Brad, I got it. It's working. He goes, oh, awesome, good. And then Scott stands up and he goes, is that why nothing's resolving? I went, what? He goes, yeah, nothing's resolving. And I'm like, no. I sit back down and I look, sure as crap, man. I killed the whole DNS domain for the whole company.
Yeah, that was after I left. I remember
the whole company. And thank God we did backups and all that stuff. I mean, but I've never tried to do so many DNS entries in my life trying to get things up. So it was fine if people were already on, they had the stuff that they were working on, but if they had logged off or whatever, none of the stuff worked. And I remember Mike pulling it back from backup and restoring it. And I was just like, the whole time I'm shaking, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I'm gonna lose my job.
That's
I'm
it. I can tell you. So before, I remember when poor Brad, he got this happen to him. He accidentally, because he was updating our external DNS, he accidentally wiped it out. He was gone. Nothing was resolving on the external. Everything was down on the external, and he had to, he communicated to the boss. The boss understood. He got it up and running. But the next thing he did, it was he started updating his resume. When these kind of incidents happen, they're called resume generated events.
Yeah.
You don't just fix the issue, you update your resume too.
Yeah. No, I was.
But one of the things I learn and understand from making mistakes and my own mistakes is, and I have to think about what those are, is that you have to fully communicate to your bosses, keep them up to date.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have bosses that will point the finger at you and say you're the bad one if I try to fire you. I mean, that's what happened to that other company, and I had nothing to do with it. It wasn't even my fault. I found the problem.
Yeah.
But if you have good bosses and you communicate well with them and you show them what's going on, I mean, accidents do happen. I mean, I twitch sometimes. My mouse double clicks. I accidentally lean on the keyboard if I'm like not even thinking, and oh man, I hit something, realized that the window was up, and it something happens. But it can happen.
Yeah,
those things can happen, and we all have our horror stories and scars and battle wounds. Things have happened, but they've also made us grow, right?
Yeah.
That's what I mean by sometimes bad things happen, is that they can be a stepping stone even into your next career that is even better than the last one.
Yeah, it's all about not making the same mistake twice. Like I think what saved my butt there is like I did do my research. I did show that I had all the information I needed, and I thought I was going the right way. I should have taken the easy route. I figured I could do the hard route. And what ended up happening, I thought it was a resume generating event. But what happened was I went to Brad and I went to, gosh, he's going to kill me, Dane at the time. And I went to them and they both looked at me and I said, dude, I am so sorry. I did this research. I found out what I did wrong. And they said, well, what did you do wrong? I said, well, all the research I did says this is the route you go. And I thought that's what I did. But yeah, I mean, literally page 3 at the very top search says, whatever you do, don't freaking do this. Like I had to go through 3 pages of Google search to see an article that said, don't do this.
Yeah.
And I said, but I mean, I know what I did wrong. I know what I should do now. And they said, okay, give me your hand. And I went, what? And they said, give me your hand. I put up my hand and they went, don't do it again.
Well, as long as you've done the research, you recorded that research.
Yeah.
Apps like OneNote and all the other stuff, they're really good at keeping track of all the things you do, what you plan to do. But no matter how much project management you can do to something like that project that you had, you really can't foresee that issue coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You can have every step you want, but it's not always going to be the same for everything.
Yeah, that's why you have test environments, and then you get to the corporate level and you find out they never have test environments. It's like
that's another hard story that I've had to learn is through career. At the very beginning, I didn't think about test environment, a dev environment. My dev environment was at home. I did all my dev work at home, making changes to DNS and AD. I did that stuff in my own domain controller before I touched the clients.
Yeah.
And that was that was an MSP world before I went into the corporate world.
Yeah.
But having my own environment that helped me understand the oops, what I need to do, how to do things, because I broke my machine, not theirs. But
Eh,
I'll
yeah.
have to remember. I'll have to sit there and remember, write some stories down next time of some of my oops moments. But I know I've had some.
Yeah, like you said, we've all had them, but
Yeah.
I'm just like, um, so we've gone through like how we met and your, how you got into the career and where you're at now. Basically, you did like me, right? You're kind of half and half right now, but
Yeah.
you're doing like me where you started out as a sysadmin or a system engineer. Well, you started out as a tech, like a break fix tech, and then
Yeah.
you went into working on servers, and then you built a major component of a company that shall not be named. I think there's probably still using your code somewhere. Um,
It's just a minor code. It's not even that big. It was just I made you know how you everyone has their code and then you come in and say, oh, throw this line in there, and it
mm,
like makes everything work and it's even better than before. Yeah,
yeah,
it's just that little sliver.
yeah,
I don't think what I understand, they're not using that code anymore, but they were for a while. But it was just a
mm,
little sliver, uh, because we all see things differently. We receive and visualize how data flows and interacts with systems and even with the user, to make it pristine and efficient,
yeah,
for the company. So
yeah, but yeah. So I mean, so what you're now doing like system engineer slash security, more on the security side than on the system engineer side, right? And I kind of made that move before you because I was still with said company. You took a hiatus for a short bit
I went
and
to get
then
into
came back.
management,
Yeah,
and I learned a lot of project management styles, a lot of teamwork styles like Scrum and stuff like that. And all my certs they have come what have expired over the years. I mean, I still have them. I still hold on to them. I still show them off because those are my achievements.
uh,
Don't even if it expires, you achieved those
exactly.
certifications. You worked in those systems. But the ones I do hold dearly right now because they're really pain in the butt to get, my PMP. That's the biggest one. I really felt like I died during taking that test. I thought Microsoft was bad. You know, when you take a Microsoft test, you would take it, you get to that point, you're like, I finish it. Oh, great. And then you click on the next, you're like, oh my God, it's still in there spinning. You're like, oh, am I going to pass? I'm going to pass. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, survey. Oh, crap. And then you're like, survey. Click submit. And the next you know, there's a score, right? It's either you failed or you
Oh my
passed. You
god.
don't, but the for this one, the PMP, it was like, well, I don't know how many questions it was. It was a tremendous amount of time I had to be there. I think it was there for almost 4 hours or something, or 2 hours. It was 2 hour long test. It was, I thought, died. I, when you picture a hell, you think like you're in this big cubicle space that never ends, and it's nothing but cubicles. And when I looked up to take a breather, I thought I died. I thought my body lifted up, and that in PMP is it's no joke. It
Yeah.
is no joke. Um, but I'm glad I have it. But it's hard to maintain. Otherwise, you have to retake the test.
Because you got to
Um,
continue to do projects and get
yeah,
CE,
you got to do
don't you?
projects. You got to do some PDUs, which is like learning pieces, or write some items and stuff like that. And then I have Scrum, for the
Yeah.
team management of how to make work more efficient, planning of the work and stuff like that, which is a little ties into project PMI, project management, but I hold that one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my next one, if I can do it, and I'll say it out loud, Oracle's offering free testing until the end of February, I believe it is,
Oh wow.
or mid February. So if I can do it, I might be able to get a cert or two in, but I go through the training to do it.
I've always had a problem with Oracle just because they have this thing about suing all their customers. I,
Well, hey, I look at it this way: free is free. You get what you can. I mean, I remember when Veeam had a free certification.
yeah.
I was all over that.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm on it, and I took it and I passed it. When VMware had their DCV and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I was on top of that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
free was free. It at least got my toes, not my foot, my toes in the door,
Well,
or
the
showed that I was showing to even upper management I'm trying to go.
yeah.
Uh, but of course, some of these corporations, the technologies, they want you to do boot camps.
Well, every time, well, so that's so I remember when I first got into my career, and I don't know if you felt this way too, but when I first got into my career, I started right out of high school, thanks to that mentor I had. I got a job right out of high school, and they didn't care if you had college. They didn't care if you had certifications. They just cared that you knew how to use a computer and that you could learn, basically.
Yeah,
Things have changed a little bit, but I remember when certifications were key or
yeah,
king, and then it shifted to like, oh, you know, you need a degree, and so I chased down the degree, and then they said, oh no, certifications, and then it became chase down another degree, which I did a partial on, and then they said, oh, now certifications are key. Now we I just we just got a new CISO, and during his first meeting with us, he's like, we need to stop looking at people with we're cutting ourselves off because we're looking at only people with degrees and college uh, degrees and stuff like that. We need to look at people that we don't care if they got degrees, if they got the know-how, if they got the if they're a hacker, we need to bring them on our side, whatever the case is. He's like got this like we have to open up our minds to this different stuff.
well, yeah. I mean, the certification bit, anyone can get a cert. I mean, I read somewhere not too long ago when the VMware certs were being offered for free for the smaller DCV one. There was a kid that passed it. Like he was like 12 or 13 or whatever. Like he was just young. Like anyone can get a cert, right? You read the book, you read the material, you try to understand it, you take the test, you pass it, you got the cert. You
Yeah.
pay the $250, $200, 150, whatever it is. Get the discount. Wait for the discount if it ever comes out, and then take it.
Yeah.
And then like for management, it is a degree, right?
Yeah.
When you want IT management, but it's always good to have come up through the ranks a bit because then you have a good understanding of IT in that organization or any other organization.
Well, you have to come up through the ranks. I don't think there's any. I mean, there's a tier system in IT, right? So there's.
Well, there is, but with cybersecurity, there's it's a little bit of wishy-wash, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Where you can get the CISSP and all that, some of those auditing ones,
yeah,
and you don't have to have the experience.
yeah, yeah.
So
I know that the company I work for, they put me in for some time. They put me in incident response, and I mean, I've made no secret of it. I felt like I was a fish out of water. It was quite possibly the hardest position I've ever taken on, and it happened like I took on that position. I didn't really have a choice. I was just like, hey, you're doing this now, and it's like, okay, great. But it was like right when COVID had started. Like COVID started in March, and it was April that I got I got put in this position, and I'm the kind of person, I'm used to working with teams, and you kind of,
yeah,
you through osmosis or whatever, you pick up ideas, you pick up things, you kind of bounce ideas off of each other
but
and stuff
you're
like
part
that.
of a brotherhood when you're in a team, right? And a really
Yeah,
good team. You mesh when you mesh with them really well. You don't want to go away from that. You want to change them because that's what you're
yeah,
used to. You make things happen,
yeah,
but
and you pick up things. I mean, because it's like me and you learned a lot together doing things, right? Like, I
yeah,
I think there's things that I was doing. Uh, I think like going back to the first class I helped you out. I substituted for you on, and I kind of got that impression that you thought I didn't know what I was talking about, kind of thing. Just because of the way I know now you were messing with me, but like that was kind of the way I got it. But then when we did try to do that business together, being that I was in the situation I was in, we had like a insurance company that we did some stuff
yeah.
for, where we moved a
That
company
was crazy.
overnight, moved a
Over
company.
and onto an empty floor. moving the entire. Oh my gosh, we spent so much time
Yeah.
making it happen. The empty racks that were abandoned in those other floors and trying to haul those downstairs just to get these people moved
Yeah, but we
because
pulled it off. We pulled it off in what
yeah,
was it 36 hours we pulled it off? I mean, we had cables going across the floor and had duct tape and everything else, but I mean, I think I gained a little bit of respect from you then.
well,
Like
they still had my server too because their server took a crap.
that's
They didn't
right.
want to pay for a server, so I
That's
virtualized
right.
it. I was able to virtualize it, and they kept my VM. So
I mean that was a case of you can't lead a you can lead a client to water, but you can't make them drink. It was just like,
well,
oh
they know
my
more than
god.
you.
Yeah, like we told them that when they were trying to move from that building to another building because they got tired of that building. We're like, hey, the first thing you need to set up is your internet connection. Hey, make sure you got this done. And they
Well,
waited
and
until like,
they were trying to do it cheaply without us involved, and it just turned in. No matter what we said and gave advice on, it just turned to crap. Like I don't mind giving anyone advice for free. Like when it comes to IT and we're fighting the same issues in the world. I mean, hey, my advice is my advice. Here you go, try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You
y-
find something better, tell me so I can learn from that and I can use it maybe.
y-
Because currently, I want to do things more of a Maytag way.
yeah,
Yes, it may seem like I won't do much, but I can explore other things, newer things,
yeah,
attack all the other things that are changing constantly.
yeah, yeah. So that was part of my education, as far as like that sent me down a path of like, um, I kind of at that time I was trying to, I really thought that I had to please everyone. Like people's opinions of me were very, like, in my mind, very heavily valued, and to the point that I kind of built myself off of those opinions. And it wasn't until, like, I guess I hit my low of lows that I finally went like, you know what? What other people think of me has no bearing whatsoever, and I gotta stop letting people take advantage of me. Like, you know what I mean. And I think when we worked for that, when we did work for that that insurance company, I think I was still in that, like, oh, I'm trying to make these guys happy. I'm doing it, and now I'm just like, you know what? If you're not gonna pay, you're not gonna pay. I'm not gonna do this. My
Yeah.
time's more value. And I mean, you got kids to deal with. You don't have time to deal with people's stuff.
When you start to settle down in your life
Yeah.
and your spouse and then you get kids involved and more kids, your need to either stay in a corporate job and just be there because it's good for your family life, for your life, or
Yeah.
you're out pursuing a business, right? Or you're doing both.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I feel like I need to do corporate. My family tends to tell me you can still do business. Like, but that means I got to go do these sales things that I'm not feel like I'm very good at. I can do the other stuff. That's not a problem,
You know.
But
The thing that got me. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're
the,
fine.
the thing that got me, and I don't know if I scared you off a little bit from doing business, but we tried to do a business together, and we did try. I mean, we didn't get very far with it, and honestly, as we said previously, we didn't put a whole lot
Yeah,
of
but you
time in it.
learn some things. I
Yeah.
learned some things from
Yeah.
each other during
Yeah.
that time,
Yeah. So
like recovering a disk drive with the drive in the freezer.
you still like that, don't you? I
That
did
was
it.
great.
I did
It
it.
worked. I even and in that one sign company that had the rated drives, the NAS. I
Yeah.
rated the drives with the bad disk missing to try to recover that data, but because it was so corrupt, it was completely done with.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. I mean, I don't know if you have any kind of like those. I did that, and I don't think anyone's ever done it kind of things, or people have done it, but it's rare. The
I
one I don't know if you have that one thing. I have it in my head. I know what it is, but I don't know if you have one in your head
I've
that
done
you're very proud of.
I've done some crazy stuff that even I didn't think it was going to work when I started doing it, and I pulled it off, and I was like, holy crap, I did it. Like, I, putting the hard drive in the freezer thing was one of them. Like, I knew that moisture wasn't good for the hard drive, so I wrapped it up in a bunch of static bags with a cable sticking out, and I taped it up.
We
And
try to airtight that bag as much as
yeah, and
possible.
I put it in the freezer, and I was doing that. You came in, you looked at it, and you're like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "Yeah, you gotta keep it cold. It's hot. It's really hot, and when it gets hot, it fails. I need to get the data off of it, so I put it in the damn freezer."
And I've done that too. I think I still
Yeah,
have a disc in the freezer somewhere from like decades ago. But
it
you know what's
works.
even it works. But you know what's crazy is the current company. I don't know if you were there at the time it happened, but the one of the machines went down. It's on its own operating system. Nobody could figure out in our department how to fix it, how to get up and running. It was down. Nothing was being made and done. It was like, uh, it was horrible. All those sea level are calling. Everyone's trying to make see what's going on. I walk, I walk in like, oh, okay, I know what to do. I took the disc. I found a bunch of old discs. I took the controller off the back of the hard drive, and it was the same model and everything.
Yeah.
And I swapped them, put it back in the machine. It's still running today. It's almost like 8 years later, and it's still running. And I told them, see this driver here? Here's 3 others just like it. Keep them. Don't use them. Don't do anything with them. Keep them for this machine.
Oh my god.
Because they usually back up that machine, but they couldn't. The controller on the hard drive failed.
Yeah.
But replacing that brought the whole line on back. They were back in business, but the fact that I was able to do that, it was like, oh yeah, I'm proud of that moment. We all have that, We're gonna write it on our resumes, on our LinkedIn's, on our Facebooks, and all that stuff. Be proud of those things, but
Oh yeah.
be humble and keep moving forward, but teach too if you can.
Well, some of the stuff that you do, you're not supposed to teach because it's like not the right way to do it.
Wow.
But
See, that's the thing we talked about earlier: book and theory versus practical.
yeah.
Some things you like. I don't know if we have some time, but this is a little.
We
short
have
story.
all the time in the world. It's up
A
to
little
you.
short story. So when I was a teenager, my mom, she had a 1976, I think it was 76, Chevy G10 van. And those things, we called it the shag wagon. Why? It had the blue carpeting in it. It had the sofa in the back with a little refrigerator on there, and the carpet trimming, the curtain, and all that. But it was our only vehicle as a family. The heater core broke, and it wasn't passing. It wasn't we weren't able to do anything. We couldn't afford a new heater core, so we had to figure out how to bypass it.
Yeah.
And then on the heater core, it was like one size hose and then another smaller hose on the other end. So we're trying to figure it out. My stepfather's the mechanic. He's the mechanic. He knows everything. I'm learning from him as it is. I'm enjoying just replacing spark plugs and changing oil, stuff like that, and tires and brakes. But he's trying to figure out what to do. We can't afford one. I look over. I'm like, and I had this idea, and I said, hey, what if we took this and used it? He goes, what? So we, had an old kids table where the aluminum leg came down and then shrunk as it went downwards. So it went from one size down to a smaller size.
I can visually see this.
Perfect.
I can see this in my head.
I sawed on each end, stuck in one hose, stuck in the other, clamped them. Boom! It was running. But but we do that even in IT today, in coding and in hardware and software routing and stuff like that. We do these kind of weird out of ball things. Why would you do that? Well, because of this reason and this. And back in the day, you're like, that was amazing. Today it's kind of like, no, just do it this way now. It's easier.
Yeah. If it breaks, just throw it away. That's the thing that my wife is like. She's from Peru, so she's always like so mad that you know when technology, like as well as I do, being in the industry we're in, I replace my computer every 3 years, basically a laptop or something, because new technology, whatever things, software advances, but the computer stays the same, so it gets slower and things like that.
Oh yeah.
And so, she gets mad because now that she's here, I have a hand me down system. I use the computer. It goes down to her. It goes down to the kids. It goes whatever the case is. But yeah, she gets mad because people just toss things out at here. In Peru, I guess they fix everything, and that's her thing. So yeah.
Well, I mean, like, 10, 15 years ago, we had to fix everything.
Yeah.
Just to get something new, it's horrible. I mean, it was
Yeah.
costing a fortune. You might as well buy a whole new one. Now it's kind of like, go to Best Buy. Oh, on credit? Sure.
Yeah.
I'll buy anything on credit. It's America. We're a country of credit.
Well, I remember when I first started, when I was doing the tech stuff and I had like a truck full of tools and stuff, I used to do work for CompUSA back when they were still in business, and they used to hire outside companies to do repair stuff for their customers. And I remember them sending me out to customers' houses to fix like flat screen TVs that had like lines going through them and stuff. Now it's like they don't do that anymore. Well, CompUSA is not even in business anymore, but I guess they are as a website. But
they're absorbed into whatever company bought them up.
Yeah, and that company bought some other company and whatever. But no, so
I think, did it all end up under Radio Shack one day, and now Radio Shack's a crypto company?
no, I don't think it was. What was that online company that sold? Like, I forget. It was one of those big companies that was doing, was it not Line Soft or something? It was some other company, Tiger Direct. Tiger Direct bought CompUSA,
Yeah.
and then someone bought Tiger Direct. I don't know who did. I don't think it was Radio Shack, but I miss Radio
No,
Shack.
I was just throwing that out there.
Have you?
I read where they say they're going to be doing cryptocurrency now.
Well, I you know what? I this is not an advertisement at all because I don't have any sponsors. I think we've had one viewer the whole time, and it's probably either you, me, or my wife. But
or my kids.
Yeah. Anyway, but have you been to a micro center?
A what?
A micro center?
No.
You need to go. Like there's one in LA. When you got time.
Well, I'm not allowed in LA. You have to be. That's a whole different story. The COVID protocols and stuff like that. I gotta wear. I'll call my dad for one of his chemical warfare suits or something.
You gotta wear ankle bracelet everywhere you go now. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, what was it? Fry's was in business
for
many years, and they closed up all. I was sad because I wanted to go to Fry's at least one more time before they closed, and I heard they and I was like, I missed it.
You know what? Fry's burnt me. Fry's burnt me. When I was starting my business, this was before me and you met. In 2006 through 2005 through 2008, I owned my own business, and it actually ended in 2009. But when we had that downturn in the market, but when I first started my business, I was doing it with a friend, and me and this friend, his name is also Antonio, and I'll probably have him on here at one point or another. But we went to Fry's to buy all of our starting equipment, right? We needed computers, we needed, QuickBooks and all that stuff to do a business. So we went to Fry's, and I mean, I kid you, I had gotten inheritance at the time, and that's how I was starting the business. So, like, literally, we had like 2 shopping carts full of just IT stuff, like computers, you name it, everything. And just to get ourselves off the ground kind of thing. And so we had 2 carts, and I went to go get the CPUs for our computers, because I was going to build our computers from the ground up. And every box they brought out was open. I was like, what the hell? I know you don't buy a used CPU unless you're going on eBay or something like that, but you don't go to a company that sells new parts and buy, you know, freaking used CPUs. I mean, because not only was the boxes open, but you like take out the CPU because it was already open and you could see where someone put paste on it previously. And and I was just like, there's no freaking way I'm buying this stuff. And I was like, don't you guys have any like, oh no, all of our CPUs come that way. I'm like, no, no, thank you. I walked out of there with 2 shopping carts full of stuff just sitting there. I was like, nope. Next day we went on Newegg, bought everything on Newegg, and it got shipped to us over 2 or 3 days. But we wasted a trip. We drove there. I think we did another trip because I did Newegg's will call, and I actually went to Newegg and picked up the stuff in will call.
I just enjoy just being in there just because it was
Yeah.
like a kid in the candy store, just seeing all the ooh and ahs, right?
Yeah,
Because you
yeah.
don't, in our little town, we don't have a lot of that going on. Circuit City closed down. Is like, oh, what do we do now?
The
You
only
know,
place is Best Buy, and I I
yeah.
um I
And then you
get
got Walmart, and you got the standard Walmart, the Targets and stuff, and
yeah,
that's it, right?
yeah.
And
Well, I give the guys in Best Buy a little bit more respect now. That I mean, I used to like give them no respect, because you walk down an aisle and you hear like a blue shirt talking to someone, and everything that they were saying you knew was just bull crap, and you're like, no, hold on. I'll explain this for you. Like, I'm not trying to be that person, but I was that person, and I've had to change. Like I was in Best Buy the other day. So the product that really blew me away, and you showed me your Apple computer a second ago, but we had an instance where there was a Apple computer on our network doing something weird, and I got put on the ticket, and I had to track it down. And once I saw what the activity was, I knew it was nothing. It was just Apple being Apple, right? But my manager and all that stuff at the time was like, we can't assume, we gotta know. And I'm like, okay. So I'm asking, no one knows, and everyone's freaking out about this thing. And I'm like, you know, what it came down to is we're like outsourcing all the work that we have done on Apple computers. I mean, literally, when there's an Apple computer that needs to be worked on, they call some outsource company to come in and work on it. And I'm like, that doesn't sound right. We're like a security department. We got to know Apple. Like, it's on our network. So, like, literally that day, I went to Best Buy and I picked up a MacBook Pro uh, M1, the 13-inch before they came out
yeah,
with the new versions of it. And the thing I'm shocked about is battery life. The battery life just blew me away. I can go almost a whole week without charging that dang thing.
oh yeah. I
It
mean, that's
it's
one of the reasons I
insane.
loved mine.
I've never like I have a Lenovo Legion. Like, I know that it's not supposed to have battery life because it's that kind of machine, but I'm lucky to get an hour on that sucker. On battery, right? Usually it's only on battery long enough for me to find another plug, yet it's a laptop. But that Apple, I can go like 21 out. I use it for like entertainment and when I'm writing stuff or I'm studying now. And so I thought it was cool. And so I was in Best Buy the other day and I was just walking around all peruse, just checking things out, whatever. And I walked up. I was walking by the Apple display just to kind of look at the new versions, the 14 and the 16-inch new ones. And there was a lady looking at a 13-inch MacBook Air or whatever, the step down from the Pro. And the guy's talking to her and stuff like that. And she's like, and he starts talking to her about the Pro, and I'm like, she's not a Pro user. And he's talking to her about it, and I'm like, well, how can I help this guy out, because I know he's trying to make a sale, but like how can I help him out without like
Making them
making
sound
him,
bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, can I say something? And he goes, yeah. And he gave me attention and stuff like that. And I was like, cool. I said, look, I just bought the MacBook Pro. That thing is awesome. It's got kick butt battery life. I've heard that the Airs have good battery life too, but not as much as this. So if you're looking for something with battery life, that's the computer you go with. If you want, and it's like, I think it was like a $200 difference or something. So, but that's what you're paying for, is the battery life. That has the same processor as this one. You know, if you want the battery life, go with this one. Like, and if you want a little bit more extra features, go with this one. But if you're just perusing the web, whatever, go with this one. Like, and I said, hey man, sorry to speak up. And he's like, no, no, thank you. And then I walked my happy little butt out of there.
I enjoyed the MagSafe
Yeah.
power cord on them, and I know they changed it out. I'm thinking about looking for the last model that had it so I can buy one, because
The new ones
I
have it.
do the new ones have it now? Because I
Yes,
have not looked at the latest changes.
the new ones, the brand new ones, the Apple Silicon, they're Pro. So they got the MacBook Pro, M1 Pro, and then that's one of their processors, and then they have the M1 Max. And,
Okay, because I stopped looking when they came out with the shredder uh,
well,
case that they had in the price tags, and I'm just like, ah.
yeah.
And then I hated the touch bar. Touch bar, I didn't like the touch bar because I read a lot of issues people were having with the touch bar and stuff like that. So I'm like, ah.
I don't
I
mind
want
the
to go back to normal.
I don't mind the touch bar, but to be honest, I hardly use it. I use it every now and then, but I don't really use it all that much. And then, but if you like the old style, then you're gonna like the new 14-inch and 16-inch.
I'll probably get it because
It's got the SD card reader in it. It's got It's got two Thunderbolt bolt ports. It's got I think a regular USB port in it. It's got the regular HDMI connection that they got rid of in the 13 model, but they brought it back in the 14. And it's got a new version of MagSafe.
wow, because I love my Mac. I love using it. I didn't care if I had a virtual machine running Windows for the Windows stuff,
Yeah.
or if I just it made my life a lot easier when I was doing things at home, at work, at school, teaching, all that. It was making things easier for me to deal with.
Yeah.
Um,
Still great.
but
Yeah.
I'll have to look into it.
How you doing on time? You need a breakaway? Are you good or?
Oh, I think I'm okay.
Man, I could talk to you all night. I don't.
We could talk tech. We could talk old times. We could talk
Yeah.
about it all for
So
hours.
yeah, no, yeah, so we went way off subject. Like we were talking about certifications being king, and we um, were talking about degrees and stuff. So you have a master's, right? Or bachelor's?
No, it's a bachelor's.
A bachelor's, that's right.
Yeah.
So you have a bachelor's, and you're also you got quite a few certifications. Whether
They're
they
expired, but
well, it doesn't matter if they expire.
well,
I mean,
everything from Windows Server to the different components of it, AD stuff like that, and then Citrix, Veeam. Even I have to go look it up sometimes because I always forget.
yeah. So my question is like, being that you have both. So I have an AS degree and a partial BS, and a degree, because I didn't complete the whole thing. I got to the point where I was like, I'm wasting money. Just because I was having recruiters tell me I'm wasting money, I'm having everyone telling me I'm wasting money with the knowledge I have and the fact that I work for a Fortune 500 company.
Well, we go based on what the industry's looking for, right?
Yeah.
What corporations are trying to look for in that regards.
So, what are your feelings on it? Should someone go after the degree? Do you do you think they should go more cert
Well,
or what?
when you hire someone, you're looking when they have a degree, you're looking at they're able to do a tasks. You're able to complete tasks. They're able to do research. They have all the kind of the skill sets, stuff like that. But when it comes to practical understanding how things really work, because when you go into a new network, you're not going to know anything about how they operate,
Mm-hmm.
what their protocols are, their security measures are, rules, but you're going to have an understanding because you've done those things before, and then you just go in there. I feel that um, it's worth it at times, especially if you want to get to management. A lot of management requires. Some of them do like MBAs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of
So
those
if you,
the C levels, they do like a lot of MBAs for requirement wise,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
thought about I should do.
yeah. I think once you get to management level, degree is definitely there. I mean, and then I think I think just as we're seeing companies go almost away from brick and mortar buildings. I mean, like we've talked before. You don't even go in the office anymore. You're 100%
No,
remote.
yeah.
I go to the office on choice, based on choice, because I work better at the office. If I'm at home, I tinker too much or I get distracted, or things are going on around the house and stuff like that. So I just find it easier for me to go to the office.
Well, I understand that. I really do, and
Yeah.
I feel that I'm sorry if I cut you off on that
No,
too.
no, 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 no. You're the guest.
It the when COVID happened, everyone had to go home. It changed a lot in our facility. That we changed how who can sit where, if there's going to be anyone in the offices anymore, stuff like that. We worked 100% from home, but you know, just for anyone that doesn't, it hasn't been mentioned yet, but my wife passed away in October, and
Very sorry for that, sir.
since going full remote to the point to when we all got sick and she passed away, I spent a lot of time with her.
Mm-hmm.
I got to spend more time than I ever have. Well, I did spend time with her before, kind of like that when we first met, but I spent a ton of time with her while I was working, when I wasn't working. Maybe take an extra half hour for lunch with her, or sitting there, or going out to grab something, whatever it is. I spent a ton of time with her, and then I look for the silver lining in working remote. And for some people, you're looking for that because my wife always wanted me to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
She got what she wanted. It worked out great. I was able to go get my kids. Now it's kind of like I want to go in to get the human contact that I feel like I need to have, but then I don't want to.
Yeah, 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 almost.
Because I still got to go get my kids. I still got to go do this and that because I got three different pickup schedules.
Mm-hmm.
One of them can't walk home by herself, and the other two can. So
Yeah.
working from home is a great thing. And then for some, they need that human contact. I mean, you're always going to have those Zooms and the Teams and the what is it, the Google Meet and stuff like that. They work great chatting with each other, but sometimes I need distractions.
Well, what's so cool about it is like you and I both know that this technology has been around for a while.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, we were doing remote stuff as IT. We were doing remote stuff. I think back to like I can remember doing remote stuff back 2006, 2005, where I could dial into my company and have all the access I needed to everything I needed, right? It may not have been the most secure thing. I think I was using a standard VPN at the time and, with a IPsec or something like that, and probably didn't have all the certificates it needed to be totally secure, but it worked, and
yeah.
it would work on a pinch. I remember working for the Kern High School District as a student volunteer, and having a dial-up connection into the school. I was like one of the only students that had that, because I was trusted. and I could dial in and I could work on stuff. I think at one point I even stole internet for a little bit period of time because I didn't have a at home internet connection, so I would dial into the school and use the internet for what I needed to use. And I mean, the whole school would run on like 1.5 megabits per second on internet. That was enough to cover the whole school. Now it's like I can't even run this stream on 1.5 megabits per second.
Uh, people that are just getting IT that've never been into it, that are young, they'll never know the headache of a modem.
Or DSL.
And even DSL, but the modem the worst. Everything, and it'd be like choppy, and it's like,
yeah,
it's
literally watching the picture load on the screen. Hold on, I'm waiting for this website to load. Oh, there's one picture.
You start it, go have dinner, come back. It's almost there, but not all the way there. Oh. Yeah. Technology then, it made us who we are today. We appreciate what we have more, but then we are like, oh, I want more. Give it to me, because it's easy now.
Well, it's just like, what's crazy is I remember when I got my first computer. Prior to getting my first computer, I had got my hands on this catalog of computer parts, and I remember looking at this catalog, and it was like rudimentary. I mean, this catalog was literally on copy paper. And I remember looking through the catalog of all these computer parts that someone had put together that you could order via phone. And I was like, I don't know what goes with what. The daughter board, motherboard, expansion slots. I'm just like, I had no clue. And then my dad bought me a Packard Bell computer from Walmart that he had to put on layaway. And I got that like the second year of middle school or junior high. And I remember before, I'll tell this story later. I don't want to like take up all the time, but it's just like, going from that to like working in the IT field, doing like MSP work or managed service provider work, and then my first taste of corporate was with you and working for the company that you work for, and then I remember Brad taking me into the server room, and I just like my jaw dropped. There was like 3 racks of servers, and they were all populated, and there was all this spinning disk over here, and there was one Nimble U here, and it was the newest thing that came out, and there was a NAS, and there was a Fabric Interconnect and all that stuff, and I'm just like, all these terms were new to me, and I just remember walking into that server room and going, I'm not ready for this. I've bit off more than I could chew. I knew the interview went well with Brad, at least, and I didn't think it went very well with Dane, because Dane was on his cell phone the whole time. But I'm like looking at all those server racks now. I mean, our server room doesn't have maybe 3 servers in it for the whole company, like, and everything else is in the cloud, like every other company.
The cloud has just taken over.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, companies are moving like crazy to the cloud.
Yeah.
I mean, I signed up for. I haven't done it before. I always wanted to do it, but I just did it. Sign up for my free account for AWS.
Yeah.
Because I can get Route 53 for DNS management. I can get some other stuff for free. And then I found other things in there that I'm like, oh, cool. These are cool things that I can do to secure the things I want to do. So, and then they got some free trainings, little trainings, stuff like so. It's like, you never know the free things of training and or certification you can get out there unless you go and sign up for some of the free stuff out there.
Yeah.
Or that they offer.
Well, like with my work, I don't know if you do the same thing, but with what I do, or with what you do. Of course, we have vendors that come in and we'll purchase this software or that software. And usually my first question to them is like, do you got any courses? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going through a certification course with one of our vendors right now. Like, and unfortunately,
Do you offer anything like that? Like, when I touched Nimble for the first time, I was able to get a course for free from one of the vendors that are one of the resellers that sold it. They offered a free course. I'm like, I'll take it.
then you get a
You know,
company.
like free stuff. I'll take it. You know, like I went to I went to church today, and I went to a newcomers because they were trying out this one church, and they
Yeah.
had the newcomers lunch, and I was like, I told the kids we were gonna do it today, and they're like, oh great, I go, you know, Dad, free lunch, I'll do it, I'll go, I'll eat, you know,
Well,
because who doesn't like anything for free, right?
yeah. Then
We try things for free, whether they're trials or a month for free, or so like even for like I know you've been working telling people about your setup and how what you're doing with their mic and stuff like that. I bought my first mic, a podcast mic, and arm for it.
yeah.
Bought some camera stands, but they were for more or less for the funeral for my wife. But I'm like, I'll also be use it for podcasting if I do video podcasting.
Yeah.
So I signed up the other night. I did like I bought I don't know how many domains. Whether it's the way the name of the podcast is or in reverse, just to make sure I have it. And then I'm like, because if it goes well, hey, I get to own it forever. If not, it's going to expire. I'm not going to renew it. And then I signed up for Spotify has a thing called Anchor for the
Yeah.
podcast, and I was playing with that yesterday, and I was having fun with that one because it was like I could link my Spotify account into it and pull some audio samples into it,
Yeah.
but I can't adjust. I cannot adjust the sound.
Uh,
So that's the only downfall.
yeah.
But free is free. I'll try it. Uh, I'll maybe use it for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, forever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to career, you do what you have to do.
Yeah. And it's about I started this as I've said many times. I've started this just because I wanted to get more out there. You know, like you know I've always I harken back to the people that basically put me where I am. You know, like mentors, people like you, people like Phil from South High, um, you know, and you know, like Matt Mitchell, stuff like that. You know, these people have all had influences on my life, and I think getting in IT is hard to do if you don't know how. Like a lot of times, what happens is you get that person that wants to get into IT, but they don't know where to start. I guess my wife would be kind of one of them. One of the things is she's always asking me all the time, like, "Oh, I want to learn." I'm like, "Okay, great, do this," and then she maybe read a chapter. Well, I don't need to do that. I was like, "But you have to have a foundation. Like, you can't get into this without understanding what this is. You know, like."
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's a basic understanding that you have to know, like how not to kill yourself when touching a computer.
But
And
also say saving it, bookmarking it, and
yeah,
highlighting it, put little tabs because you're not going to remember it in about 2 years, anyways. Unless you have a
yeah,
good memory.
yeah. It's like the certifications, like the like my first certification I got was A+, and it was back when it was a lifetime test. Like it was like you got A+ certification, you got A+ for life, which it never truly was, because even when it was a lifetime test, if you were going for another job and the certification was over 3 years old, they wanted you to recertify in it to prove that you could still pass it.
Yeah, I hate when companies put their own time
Yeah,
on or expiration on a certification
yeah,
because you know the CompTIA tests. I'll
mm,
tell you, they're good for entry level.
yeah,
And the biggest thing I suggest to anyone getting in IT is do Security Plus.
yep,
I mean, you're gonna have to learn networking anyways. You're gonna have to learn how a PC operates and works in server, but security is a good fundamentals because you wouldn't. You know how many people out there that are programmers or web developers that have no concept of security?
Oh my gosh, like the vendors first thing when they're implementing something new, especially when it's like a website or um when it's a piece of software like in the OT space, okay, like operational technology.
Yeah.
When it's in the production line, their first thing is oh yeah, it needs access to everything or it needs full rights. And you're like, "No."
What, just so everyone knows, like that little stint I left for a little bit and then went back to the company that he was referring to.
Yeah.
It was a healthcare. That is like the best, like almost like taking a security plus of learning what you should and shouldn't do when it comes to permissions. I mean, I got lucky working with a guy, an engineer who was really anal, excuse my language, anal about
You're fine.
permissions down to the granular level if necessary, because healthcare, the HIPAA laws are so hurtful. You just you have to maintain a certain level of security, whether it's granular or a few notches up from it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
Well, doctors.
I will always have mentors as I change jobs or as I new people come in. They will be my mentor in whatever experience they have.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Yeah, and like I tend to try to be a sponge. Like I think that's what hurt me in that one position so much is I didn't have that chance to like do that with people because and I think that's where I think doing the whole work remote stuff is going to hurt is because um a lot of that one-on-one interactivity with someone to like where they I mean me and you are brothers, right? Like we've gone
yeah.
through it. You've seen me at my worst. I've seen you at your worst, and we've grown from it, right? But um, if I still lived in the same town, we'd see each other a lot
A
more.
lot more.
And we'd hang out. We'd do a lot more stuff. But now you're on one coast, I'm on the other coast. We don't talk as much as we used to, and I think hopefully with you doing your podcast and me doing my thing, we do this more often because, as evidenced by the fact that we've been on here for an hour and 37 minutes, we do enjoy each other's company and talking, right? And we have
We're
a lot
just
of
talking
things
about
that,
industry. We're just talking
yeah,
about our job life. You
yeah.
know, we haven't got into like other stuff.
There's a ton of stuff that we can talk about, but some of the funnest stuff that we've ever done is like you sitting there showing me what you figured out and me showing you what I figured out and basically learning off of each other and sharing that information. I mean, that it can still be done today, but it's harder to do. It's
Security reasons,
yeah, yeah,
NDA, all out. Yeah,
yeah.
we have to. But the operational of how things are done, and we would have to build labs to kind of show it off.
that
That's the only way we could do it
yeah.
if there's labs.
That's the funnest thing about this job is like you're talking to someone like I'll go to like an industry event or something like that and they're like, "Oh, so where are you running?" "Oh, I can't disclose that." "Oh, well, what do you do here?" I can't disclose that."
I had a call like that. I literally had a call like that the other day. The guy called me. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm with this survey company. We're surveying about storage and cloud and all that." And I'm like, "Okay, I have a few questions for you. Do you have time?" I'm like, "Well, just so you know, I'm on leave. I'm not allowed to talk about work at all. Like nothing. I can't even disclose much." "Oh, but," I said. He goes, "Well, we'll just try the first question. Go from there." And he asked me the first question, and I answered the question because it had nothing to do with work.
Yeah.
It just had to do with me in the industry. Then he goes on to the next one. He keeps pushing and goes, are you moving to the cloud?" "I don't know. I can't disclose that. And even if we were, I can't tell you." And I kept telling him the same answer. I said, you can keep asking me questions. You're gonna get the same answer from me. So I don't know how helpful my answers will be to your survey. "Well, can you tell me if I don't know if I'm gonna need someone like you for my budget next year because I'm not at work. I don't know what they're doing.
What
And even if I did, I can't disclose it to you anyways."
one of my one of my favorite things is like I know 100% that nobody reads your profile on LinkedIn or anything like that, because I have very clearly written there, don't waste my time or your time. If you're in marketing or your account rep or anything like that, don't bother calling me. And I get calls all the time, and I know they looked at my LinkedIn profile, because the first thing they say is like, "So I see that you're a platform engineer at such and such company, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Uh huh," and they're like,
Sure, sure,
and they're
sure.
like, "Well, are you? Do you have time for this?" Well, what do you need? I mean, it this job has turned me into a butthead on the phone, and I don't mean
Oh,
to be,
I
but
get.
I have to be.
What? Or what about the white papers? Right.
Oh my gosh. And it's just like the whole time you're just like sitting there going, okay, I'm not a decision maker. Well, and then my favorite thing is like, uh, they're like, well, what about this? And I said, well, I don't work in that. And I can't confirm nor deny whether we have any of that. I can't disclose anything. And they're like, well, can you put me in touch with the person? I cannot share information. If you find the person on LinkedIn, you called me, you can call them, but I'm not going to share that
Yeah,
information.
they want me to like transfer them. I'm like, I
Oh
can't
yeah,
transfer you.
no,
I'll just send your information, and then I hang up, and I don't want to send the information. Not that I'm trying to be a butthead about it or a douche about it, but like the cold calling has to stop. It's just as bad as robocalls.
oh my god, it's
There's nothing
terrible.
I can do about it. I know you're trying to make a buck,
I don't have
or you're
time for
not,
you.
or you're just social engineering me.
Yeah,
One of the two.
yeah,
I can't do anything for you.
yeah,
There's not much. Even though LinkedIn profiles, if you build them up, they show everything. Like, hey, I don't mind showing off my stuff, but I can't disclose if I actually, have that technology.
correct. Yeah, yeah. It's like
But
you
I
got.
may have worked on it before in the past, or once or twice. But like I said, free is free. I will take whatever I can for free, whether I use
Yeah,
it or not.
yeah, yeah. Like I'm. You can send me all the swag you want. I'll wear it. I like free shirts. Uh, but the on the flip side, this is the part that I think.
My water bottle
Oh,
for
I
free
can't.
swag.
What? Uh,
There you
oh,
go.
they have pure storage,
Yeah.
or I.
I was gonna wear my shirt I had on today. It said Nimble on it. But see, that's all the swag. Like, hey, you think I'm sponsoring? I'm not sponsored. I took everything from everyone's table
Yeah,
and I'm using it.
yeah. Like I got, I got some stuff over here that's like I got the company that does oh god, I forget their name now, but they did a lot of like the you remember Silicon Valley, that show?
Yes. Yes.
They
I love
were,
that show. I love that show.
yeah, this company, I forget the name of it now. I'll have to look at it, but they were like the inspiration. Parts of their company were the inspiration for that show, and they picked up on it and thought it was great, right? So they made a sticker for it, and I got that sticker like stuck on almost everything,
I think
like
the
my toolbox.
first season was the best, and then the 1 through 3 was where it really has its thing.
Yeah,
But like when they open up like the garage door and the servers and storage, I'm like, hey, look! I remember working for that one company got me out of
yeah,
the phone system they used, and I was like, oh, we're gonna resell that phone system, okay? But I didn't know anything about it because I wasn't telecom. But when I was watching a movie, they had those phones. I'm like, hey, we sell those
oh
phones.
yeah, yeah, the
We
Mytels,
have those phones. Yeah,
the
I was
Mytels,
like,
yeah. Oh
they're all over
man,
the place.
time.
But like when I see Pure now in Silicon Valley, I was like, hey, I had them in VMUG once. He put me to sleep.
Well, then you got like Nutanix. Nutanix is like, oh, we're so easy to use. We put a game on there for the technicians to play.
Oh, I I don't want to completely dog Nutanix because they have a good concept and everything. But when it came to the sales guy trying to understand what we needed and then telling us we were going to get something and then we really didn't get what we needed, and I have to have 3 nodes
Yeah,
and I have to put a server on each node because they took half my memory with their little VMs on it. Yeah, I was it. I was like, I don't like your stuff.
yeah. When
But they had a good concept. I mean, VxRail is another one, just like Nutanix,
Yeah.
using the same concept of using VMware's product instead of a homegrown one. So uh, yeah, the swag, the products, I tested it all out, and I wish I could test more out. I wish I could be like a beta tester. You
So,
ever wanted to be a beta tester?
oh, I love being
Get free,
beta
get
tester.
free stuff, and
The only thing I've been a beta tester on is games.
oh no, I want to like send a storage system to my house. I'll hook it up, but
Yeah,
then I
there you
won't have
go.
the power for it
Yeah, some of these
or a
power,
rack for it.
some of the consumption on these things are just insane. No, so have you had the fun yet of having to call another company to let them know that they've been breached?
Yes,
Is that not the funnest thing in the world? How many
the
times did you get hung
funniest.
up on before they finally started paying attention to you?
No, they actually accepted my calls.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
actually did. I did it twice. Um, Last year, I think it was last year. Yeah, I did it twice. But it was more email breach.
Yeah.
An account got breached. Just spam. It was not spam. It was sending um, phishing emails to us, stuff like that. But yeah, they got breached. I called them up. Say, hey, I don't know who to report this to, but because you don't have any information of who your IT department, but this is what's going on. Oh, okay. And then like I'll send emails to the ones that got it. But the one I did do before I left and got back, one for the healthcare company, there was a data center was phishing us. It was sending a bunch of emails. I called the data center and chewed their asses out. Excuse me, I chewed them out
You're good. I
because I don't know
have
how many
I have it
days they
marked
were.
as not for children.
I don't know how many days I was like getting hit with it and trying to block it, and they kept changing IP because it was a data center. It was hosting servers.
Yeah.
Whoever had them to look, your guy who's buying it from another country, who's buying it in the U.S., is hitting us constantly. You need to do something about it. Next thing I know, they get shut down. I was like, finally, oh, peace. But
I had to call this one company. Their website got breached, and I was told at the time that I had to call them, right, and get them on the line and all that stuff. And they were someone that we had done business with. So it wasn't like, oh, this place has been breached, let's block them and we're done. No, it was a company that we did business with, and we had a website with them at one point, or they hosted some of our stuff. And so I was like calling them, and I got hold of like the secretary or something, and I said, hey, my name's so and so, I'm with such and such company. I need to talk to your CISO or your head of IT or whoever's head of your security. And click. I'm like, okay. So I called again. And I said, I know that you think I'm messing with you. I really am not. I can prove I am who I am. I'm sorry. I need to talk to your person in charge of IT. And she click. And then I called again, and I said, look, I just sent you an email to your main company account. If you have access to it, you can see who I am. Like, or you can look up my LinkedIn account or whatever. I am who I say I am. Oh, well, you're harassing me. I said, no, I'm not harassing you. Your website is breached, and I'm trying to let you guys know you're affecting other people. And if I don't talk to someone in charge, um, which totally sounds like a phishing scheme, right?
yep.
If I don't talk to someone that can lead me in the right direction to someone that I can share this information with, then we're gonna probably pull your contract. Like, and she finally started listening, and I was like, look, I know it sounds like I'm trying to do this or that. I'm not. I am who I am. This is the only way I can get a hold of you. I have to get a hold of so and so, to do this. But that's not the first time. That's been many times I've had to make those calls, and it's just like,
I used to, I used to like back in the day, the company, we shall not name. I had I don't know how many times like we get flagged. There was flags about a client and explicit sites going to, and I had to report that to whoever our primary contact is. One of them was I told them, and then in research and in working with them, the primary contact, we found out was the owner.
Oh no.
Like, how do like the owner's just not gonna care, if they're looking up, explicit stuff. They don't care.
You
But
know,
one company where I was supposed to do updates, I logged into the system and they were watching explicit stuff,
oh.
but no one was there. It's like late hours. So I reported to primary contact. She had to research and find out who was there. Come to find out, it was the cleaning people. They had their kid with them,
Oh
who
no.
happened to be surfing those sites, playing the videos, while the dad was over there cleaning the facility, and argued back with the primary contact saying, "No, my son wouldn't do that. My son wouldn't do that. No, you crazy." I was like, it was insane. Like, because like I had it on my screen. I'm sitting there, and my wife walks by, like, "What are you watching? What are you looking at? That's not me. I swear. Let me look right here. I cover up the name, the company, all that. Like, look, see, I'm logged into my software to get it. Oh, it's like it was crazy when she found out.
The craziest thing I've ever had to do, and unfortunately, it wasn't one time. I had to do it twice when I worked for the high school, but it was a different situation. But I had to fire a client one time. Well, I've had to fire a couple of clients, but usually, you fire a client because they become like a C or D client, where they
Yeah.
don't pay their bill, they treat your employees like crap, or they treat you like crap, and you're just better off without the client. But though there's one time I had to fire a client because I ended up having to call the police, and I picked up the client's computer because I did work on his computer regularly, because he was always getting viruses, like constantly getting viruses.
I hate that.
And at one point, I told him, "Dude, I don't know what you're doing, but if you're doing free stuff, start paying for it, because the free stuff is costing you a lot of money." And anyway, so one time I picked up his computer and brought it back to the office because it was wrecked. And he used to do drafting, like for architectural drafting and stuff like that. Anyway, I had an employee at the time, so his name was Jesus, and I'll see if I can get him on here too. But Jesus, I gave it to him to work on. I had some other stuff I had to work on, and all of a sudden he came into my office and he's like, "I'm not comfortable working on that computer." I said, "Why? What's up?" Because I'm not 100% because I only saw it for a second. But if what I saw is what I saw, yeah, I don't want to touch that computer. Like, what did you see? And he goes, "I saw what looked to me like child pornography."
Oh,
I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Well, do you want to see it?" I'm like, "No, I take your word on this." So the first thing I did was like, I'm sorry, I have contracts with people and stuff like that, but I also have a duty,
a
and
moral duty,
a
and
moral
and and
duty.
and just so people know our backgrounds, Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
We've been, we're Scouts.
yeah. I'm a scout, as I've described before. I'm a scout leader now, and I volunteer for the local council and stuff like that.
We
So
follow.
I
We live our life by the Scout law still, right?
yeah, well,
Yeah,
yeah, I do.
that's horrible. Uh, we had to do the same thing at the company. I shall not be named. That
Yeah.
happened too, where one of the guys discovered that on the computer, had to turn it over to the cops because, I mean, it really should be a big law about having that,
Yeah.
and two, you shouldn't be, excuse my language, that dumb to leave it on your computer, and three, I just think it's just a horrible person for having that kind of
Oh,
shit on their computer.
yeah. You're not a person to me if you have that crap on there.
Oh yeah,
I don't care how much they're trying to make pedophilia okay nowadays. I don't know. I've heard some stuff on that. I'm not
I don't care if you're
happy
Bill
with.
Gates or
Mm,
Bill Clinton.
yeah, or you pay my paycheck. I don't care who you are. But no,
I've left jobs because of my morals,
yeah.
because they it's crossed that line,
Well,
right?
one of the reasons why I started my own business was the employer I had at the time. I was ripping off the company I eventually went and worked for, the one that you got me out of. Uh, but prior to that, when I was working as a contractor through this other company, uh, he had a tendency to, when a client ordered new equipment, instead of delivering the new equipment to the client, he would keep it for himself and then send the client equipment that he had already been using. Like if the client bought a new monitor, he's like, "Oh, well, they won't notice. They don't even know what they're looking at." And I literally watched him take his monitor off of his desk, put the new monitor on his stand,
Swap it out.
and put the old monitor in the box and send it out to the client. And
You
that
know that
happened with servers. That happened, and
that
I just
that's
couldn't do it
horrible business.
anymore.
That's horrible business practice, because I've seen that happen too, where if they don't have the equipment, they swap it out like you said, or they mark up the invoices on certain things to make it look like you're paying for a lot for a service that's not. You're just trying to get more money from them, extort them basically.
Yeah, that's the problem that I had with the company that shall not be named. Um, Starts with A, ends with a C. Uh,
Alibaba? No, no,
yeah, anyway,
that's not it.
anyway, one of the reasons why I also did not like that company, other than the fact that they made a joke of IT, was that they would get their clients locked into evergreen contracts, where it was like a 3-year contract, and if the client didn't reach out to them, the contract automatically renewed, and they would get them locked into hardware that they didn't need. Like I literally went to a client one time. I kid you not.
You know
Went.
they teach that, right?
I'm sure they do.
I
Yeah,
think I think it's taught now,
yeah,
on
yeah.
the secondary business,
Yep.
because it's yeah, I know what you're speaking of.
The stupid evergreen contracts. Those things are so stupid. Look,
They
you.
call it a lease
Well,
basically. They won't call it evergreen. They'll call it a lease.
well, you know what? You either keep a client because you're good with your client and you treat the client right, or you just don't keep the client. It's just bullcrap. And I know a couple of companies that ended up suing them for that and won because it's stupid. It's not.
Well,
It's not
they
worth the
used to
paper
like
it's on.
they used to make us shut down certain services,
Oh, I
like they
know.
were having an outage
Oh, I know.
because they weren't returning calls to pay bills, and then when they call, then they were forced to pay some money or all of it, and
That's
then we turned
extortion.
something
Yeah.
on. Yeah,
That's like ransomware.
it got pretty bad. Uh, like I said, morals. You gotta have morals.
That's the problem I have with the cloud. Um, that I guess we'll end on this because we're at 2 hours and driving probably people crazy. I don't know if anyone's gonna watch this, but if they do, they do. Um, but the thing
So
that
our little rant.
the thing that bothers me about the cloud is I kind of view it kind of like the evergreen contract, right? So you no longer own the hardware now. People think the cloud is a new thing, but it's been there forever. I mean, we refer to that as the internet. You're running things on other people's devices. That's all it is. It's hardware sitting
But you'll
somewhere
also
else.
hear people say that that's not true when technically, where are you running from? Someone's data center
Yep.
off of someone's hardware. It
Yep.
doesn't matter. You say no, that's not it. Cloud is run on, like, I can have a data center in my house, and you can run your service systems off of me.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just running it off of someone else's hardware. I mean, and you don't physically own the hardware. But the problem is you don't own the data anymore either. These companies do. Like to a point. I mean, they could let's say so let's go back to the example of the evergreen
I
contract.
think it has to do with the different. There's so when you speak of cloud, there's different levels of cloud. You have
Yeah.
infrastructure, application, and you got web. And depending on which level, you don't own the data. You
Yeah.
don't own the data when you get to the highest level, because the infrastructure, you still own all that, even though they just the underlying system. You're still spinning up your servers. You're still spinning your hardware on your software on it, and data on it, and stuff like that. And I think you still own the data.
Yeah.
But when you get to the point where they spin up the servers for you, they manage the data for you. Then you get into that you may not own the data part.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm. Uh, that's the space I'm kind of concerned about because you got these small mom and pop shops that you know there's times where these mom and pop shops they can't pay their bill that month. You know what I mean? Like they're just trying to pay their employees. I mean I've been there. I had my own business where I had 5 employees and the stress of making sure you're putting food on the tables of your employees is something that's hard. I mean,
Yeah, and then when you have other laws that force you to do other things,
oh my
providing
gosh,
healthcare, stuff like that,
oh my
it's
god,
more stress you have to
it
worry about.
it's a lot. I mean, that year taxes got raised on me. The final year of my business, taxes got raised on me like 3 times in one year, and I just like it became like whether I pay the tax or I pay my employee. I unfortunately I chose to pay my employee and ended up having to pay the tax and bunch of interest and all that stuff.
That's interesting to say that with that whole new digital app transfers. $600.
Hmm.
um, they if you have Cash App or Venmo, if you if someone pays you $600 for doing a service, you have to report it on your taxes, right?
Hmm.
I read somewhere someone saying that even if you had $600 the entire year, you have to report that.
Yeah. Well,
So the
here's
best thing to do is make sure you put birthday, food reimbursement. Then it's not flagged as you have to put it on your taxes.
here's the funny part. The the only political thing I'm gonna get into, I guess. Uh, the funny part is I saw a report that they were doing on taxes, and they're actually asking for people that went out and stole stuff to report
Oh
what they
yeah, that's
stole. Like
I stole 5 servers. I'm gonna put it on my taxes that I stole it.
I'm like, oh, you're asking a dishonest person to be honest? Are you really? Are you full of
But
crap?
if you
For
return
what?
it before you write it on your tax, like who honestly is gonna have the moral of honesty to write that on their taxes?
Oh my
And even if
god.
they did, they should be arrested, thrown in jail because they wrote
Oh,
that they stole it.
oh my god. It's just crazy. I know that we've kind of been all over the
Yeah,
place with this, but hey, it's 11 o'clock here. I'm sure you got kids that you got things to do
yeah.
with.
It's 8 o'clock over here, bedtime.
Yeah, yeah. So hey, I appreciate you for joining me tonight.
Yeah, not a problem. Thank you for
And
having me.
hey,
Oh,
why don't
just
you,
that name I have here, More Havoc.
uh-huh.
That was my first domain I ever bought. I still own it
I
since
still, I
for
still,
like over 13 plus years. I've had it.
I still own Next Gen IT Consulting.
Do you really?
Yes. Here's the funny part. What security company is out there that uses that name now?
Hey, just when you were talking about like software and all that, you heard about McAfee and FireEye. They blended together. You
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Now you heard about Symantec loading Bitcoin, like mining, crypto mining
Yes,
on with their software.
yes.
I mean, really?
Like it's stupid. It's just stupid. Anyway,
You guys got to
so
make a buck somehow, right? I
so
mean,
why don't you take a couple minutes and talk about what you want, what your podcast is going to be all about? Like,
well, it's still in the infancy stage. I'm still trying to figure out a lot about it. I actually created like 3 of them, but I got to figure out which one's really going to be the main one. But one just on general items, general things in life that I'm going through, just because I know that there are people out there that need to know that they're not alone when it comes to grief and loss.
mhm.
So I'm looking at maybe doing something. It may seem sad, but you know what? Some of us need that confirmation that I'm not alone. It's going to be okay, and it really is. And the other one is just talking about everything, technology, talking about what's going on in the world, talking about what I, through my eyes, and maybe have guest talks and stuff like we're doing here. And then the other one I want to do is just basically pull in all those funny things that I see online and just talk about it. Because I see a lot of people doing that. I'm like, I want to try that. I really want to see what that's like. Because I come across a lot of funny memes and funny videos. I mean, I don't know. I watched a couple the other day. I almost spit everything in my mouth out, and I didn't even drink anything. It was hilarious. I was like, where did
Kind
you
of.
find it? You know, so it's infancy stage. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm doing. I'm just playing with it right now, but I'll be posting on my Facebook, of course, what it is, and if I need you to do a shout out, of course, I'll let you know.
I'll definitely do that. I'll include you in my links and stuff like that. And I definitely want to have you on again. And I mean, I always have great conversation with you. There's another channel I'm working on that I have done nothing with yet, but it's blind leading the blind,
Yeah,
and the
well,
concept behind that one is fun.
you know, after we talked about, and I was writing on your comments about Trainwreck, I really tried finding some way to buy that domain and or any kind of consistency or way it's spelled. But that's when I start getting an idea about doing these generalized podcasts in general. But then
Yeah,
it could be end up being just YouTube, like we're doing here. It could be
yeah.
end up this and that.
I,
But
I
I bought the stuff. I just gotta do it, and just make it worthwhile.
yeah. Well, the blind leading the blind thing, I think you'd be awesome contributing on, because
I
it's the whole concept behind it is like figuring crap out that you don't know and sharing it.
we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway,
Yeah, good.
all right. Well, thank you very much. I'm gonna end it here. Thank you everyone that's watching, or if you watching the recording of this. This is Antonio Moore. I'm Jacob Jewett. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
You
you.
have a good evening. Thanks.